Hello. So today I'm going to be talking about my freelance plan because a lot of people have been asking like, what are your plans? What are you going to do? How are you gonna make enough money to live and not starve to death? And so I made a plan for myself. I just want a quick disclaimer. I don't know exactly what I'm doing because this is literally the first time that I am actually doing freelance. So don't take everything I say as an absolute. I'm still figuring things out just like everyone else, and this is just mainly what I think would work best for me. And if you have like suggestions on like how to improve my plan or like things that I'm maybe missing out, please like tell us down below. So like maybe if like you want to create a discussion about something, then maybe we can help each other out. I'm a type of person that really likes to create kind of a loosely based plan for things because not everything goes according to plan, and I understand that, but writing out a plan makes it easier for me to understand what I'm doing and not freak out as much. So I have this notebook where I write all of my thoughts and all of the things that I want to keep track of. So the first thing you want to do is kind of figure out exactly what it is that you're trying to do. You pretty much want to write out all the sources of income that you can get, and you also want to calculate out like your monthly spendings. And I would try to be more humble with your monthly spendings going forward, especially if you're a freelancer and if you don't have like money saved up. You don't want to be spending like $3,000 to $4,000 a month unless the place you live is more expensive, but like in the area that I live is pretty affordable, so I'm able to have a lower cost of living. So let's say my cost of living is around $2,000, so my minimum to make every month is $2,000. And for me at first it was like really like I was freaking out because $2,000, even though it seems very reasonable to make, it's just like a big number that you don't know if you can make it until you actually do. So for my sources of income, I want to have multiple sources of income because that's usually what freelancers do. Just in case one fails to show up, you at least have maybe 3 other places you can get money from. These are the different sources of income that I have. I have freelance work, which involves like client projects and commissions, stuff like that. Usually clients reach out to me based off of like maybe stumbling across my website or my Instagram or my YouTube, and then they just simply email me. And by the way, I'm open for any client work. Email me here. If you are struggling with getting client work, I would definitely recommend having a strong portfolio first and try to build your social media audience. So my second source of income is my Etsy store. I've been growing my Etsy store for the past year, I would say. I was actually working on it on the side while I was working full-time, so it was kind of like I didn't just jump right into it. I kind of progressively built it up while I was getting another source of income from my full-time. So if I were just working full-time and I wasn't even starting like any freelance work on the side, I would not recommend just diving into freelance. I did save enough money from my full-time, and I was also building up my side career. So right now I basically sell mainly stickers and occasionally acrylic charms. I want to branch out into like enamel pins, acrylic pins, patches, lanyards, notebooks, digital goods, handmade pins, original artwork. You want to list out all the things that you will potentially make, just so that you kind of have an idea of where you want to grow your Etsy store. And just starting out, I think I'm still gonna stay with Etsy just because they do bring in around 40% of my customers through their own marketing. And I think eventually, if I grow bigger, I will probably want to maybe leave Etsy and go to Squarespace, where you pretty much pay a monthly fee for a business plan. I still have to figure out if it's actually worth it. So my next source of income comes from social media. which this isn't that stable yet just because I'm pretty new to like sponsorships and partnerships and stuff like that. But I do get a little bit from AdSense, not a lot. Maybe right now it's like a couple hundred a month, but I'm planning on like growing my channel more in a way where it's like less studio vlogs and maybe it's more educational and it teaches more about like materials or like how to paint this, how to use your iPad to draw, stuff like that, where I think it would be very beneficial. And obviously with the more like subscribers and the more views you have, you definitely get a higher income from AdSense. But besides that, I do get occasional sponsorships and I do get partnerships. That's like, I don't want to rely on social media for too much money because I know it's not gonna bring much. It's mainly to drive like my audience from YouTube and Instagram to maybe other places like commission work, to my Etsy store, and it's pretty much like marketing myself. So another income stream that I am working on is Patreon. Yeah, so I see a lot of artists that have Patreon and it definitely does allow them to continue to pursue like freelance without that struggle of whether or not you're gonna make enough. I want to make one of the higher tiers, like a tutorial video every month or something, but like have you guys ask me what you would like to see so that way I can give the people what they want. So I think a lot of people that I've seen on YouTube or like just in general have said that it's best to save up 3 months of savings, like how much you spend a month times 3. But if you're a very anxious person like me, I feel like it's almost better if you can just save up at least like half a year or more, just because with freelance it's very inconsistent on how your money comes in and goes out. Because I make merchandise for my Etsy store, you have to always take a chunk of money to buy that merchandise to sell on your Etsy store to make money. So depending on what you're making, like if you're for example making a lot of tote bags one month, you're obviously going to be spending a lot more. So it's best to just have like enough saved up where you feel comfortable like spending money on inventory versus like feeling like you can't make anything because you don't have enough money. It's best to like separate your personal savings and your business savings and expensive, like pretty much separate out your personal and your business bank accounts, which I just did. I have like a checking account and a credit card mainly just for purchasing stuff for business versus like my personal stuff where it's like paying rent, paying for food, paying for gas, paying for shopping. So the next step is mainly research. Now you kind of know all the different income streams you have and all the different things that you want to make, but because you don't have too much experience on it, you want to look into other people that are potentially doing the same thing that you're planning on doing, because they already have established their career and they already know kind of what they're doing. And a lot of creatives actually make a lot of YouTube videos online talking about like their freelance or their Etsy store, stuff like that, and it's very beneficial. Some people that inspire me and I want to shape my freelance career off of would be like Glei, Shape Barton, Frannerd, Sara Faber, Huawei Studio, Catnip Studio, and like there's so many more. Another thing I would recommend is motivational talks and reading a lot of books, which I haven't read a lot of books since I graduated, so I think it's time to get back into it because I don't want to be stunted with my growth. I want to be able to learn new things. Here are some of the motivational talks and books that I would recommend that I've read so far. There's so many more out there. This is just what I learned off of this week. So the next step is to write out a schedule and try to follow it as best as you can. I would recommend getting like a whiteboard or a planner, because when you're doing freelance, it's a very self-motivated type of career. No one's there to tell you exactly what you're supposed to do every day. So sometimes if you're not being productive, that's a day wasted that you'll never get back. And writing everything down kind of helps build like routine and seeing how long it takes you to do certain work. And that will also in the future help you like figure out how much to charge your clients. And I also read this book, which is called Manage Your Day to Day. I got this for free at a Bold talk at my school. So the chapter that I found most helpful was building a rock solid routine. So the first thing is great work before anything else. And this pretty much means like you want to do all of your most creative work in the morning or when you feel the most driven to do your creative work. You don't want to drown it out with all of the admin work, such as like replying to emails, replying to comments, scheduling your posts for social media, stuff like that. You always want to do like your painting in the mornings, because that's when you feel the most productive and that's when you will get the most work done. A lot of the times we answer emails, we reply to comments because it has that instant gratification of, oh, I did something, I replied to this many comments. If you start getting into routine of doing this, you start realizing that you have less and less time to do your creative work because you're always stuck doing like the easy tasks that you think doesn't take too much time. I'm not saying don't reply to your followers because that sense of community is always really great, but I would say leave it to like later in the evenings when you have less energy, and therefore like those types of tasks are, you know, to wind down at the end of the day. The next thing is jumpstart your creativity. That section pretty much talks about like having a creative space laid out, have all the triggers that it takes to get you into that mood of creating. So it could be listening to the same music every day. For some people it could be like specifically at 7:30 you have to have a cup of coffee to trigger yourself to know that it's time to be creative. So it's just little things like that that you want to schedule into your day to make sure that you are creatively triggered. Next is feel the frequency. I think recently I've been struggling with that a little bit because I was just taking a break for around like 2 weeks and I haven't really been making anything that I have been proud of. And so being frequent with your work really lets you feel creative all the time. As much as people would want to hate the idea that frequency is actually one of the keys to being creative, it actually does help a lot if you just set out maybe 10 minutes a day just to paint something. And if you do it like pretty frequently, you just get into that rhythm and that groove of making something versus that spontaneous burst of creativity. But how often are you gonna sit there for like weeks and months waiting for that creative energy to spark versus like every day if you're just making art? It pretty much like helps you grow this creative muscle. So once you train it, it's always there. You know, once you stop, for example, working out, your body muscles kind of go away and you kind of have to build it up again from ground zero. So this is like the same thing. Next topic is get lonely. So this is something that I really struggle with and I really want to work on. I often surround my time with like replying to comments, messaging friends, talking to my mom on the phone, and that's actually very destructive to focusing on something because a lot of people say, oh, I can multitask, it's easy, like I can do like 5 things at the same time. Like you're not actually multitasking, you're just switching your attention to another topic. And so when you're constantly like messaging friends all day while you're being creative, it does take a lot longer because your focus is always switching back and forth. What I want to implement into my schedule is having a chunk of the day where I pretty much don't look at my electronics and I just purely focus on my creative work then. And maybe the later half of the day I can start replying to things and focusing on that aspect. And the last topic is called Don't Wait for Moods. It says like, show up even if you don't feel like creating. And I think that's like a really strong thing to know, especially for people that struggle with art block. Many cases when I struggled with art block, I think the best way for me to get out of it was just simply start. Like, yeah, the first few things you make aren't gonna be great. You're gonna be struggling and you're gonna feel dumb and not feel great. But once you get all of the bad drawings out of the way, I think you start creating better pieces, you get more motivated, and then that's when your creative muscle is being shaped and formed. There was also like a saying in that book, I forgot where it was exactly, but I think it said something like, there's a difference with being like just an artist versus a professional, because being an artist, like, you can have spontaneous creativity and you can be making masterpieces every once in a while. So being a professional is being able to do the work even if you don't feel like doing it. And that's like the difference between the two. Alright, so with all that in mind, I created like a schedule for myself that I want to try to stick with day to day. I usually wake up around like 7 a.m., which means that I sleep around 11 every day. So around 7 to 8, it's the time for me to, I don't know, wake up myself. So that could either mean making a coffee, it could mean doing some yoga, doing some exercising. 9 a.m. is when I start working. I'm used to starting working at 9 a.m. because of my previous full-time job. So from 9 to 12:30, it's when I'm going to be the most focused. And so this is when I am going to try to turn off social media, try to not watch videos, maybe put on music at most, and just really focus on what I'm doing. And then from 12:30 to 1:30 is my lunchtime. And then 1:30 to 6 will be all the video editing, the admin work, replying to emails, replying to comments, stuff like that. Anything that's like not as creative but is necessary to run your own business and your own freelance career. And then from 6 to 11 is my wind down time. It's the end of my work. I'll probably eat dinner, I'll probably play Animal Crossing, I'll do some hobbies that will enrich my artwork the next day. It's really hard for me to do because I'm so used to like having art as my job and my hobby, but I do want to get into more hobbies that aren't art related just so that I have more things to draw about. And the next step would be building a workspace that makes you feel the most creative and the most productive. So this is my current studio layout that I think will work best for what I need now. It may change as I grow as an illustrator, but this is what works for me now. But I'm also very indecisive, and I really like to mix around my layout every once in a while to keep things fresh. So if I ever do that, I'll do another studio tour. So of course I have a lot of plants. Well, this probably isn't too many plants because most of them are in my bedroom, but I love plants and I love the way that it kind of brings happiness to a space. I think there are multiple studies that say that plants do actually make you feel more comfortable and happy, so I like to try adding a lot of plants. It just really makes my day and it really brightens the space up. So this is section 1 of my studio space. It's pretty much like my packaging space, like the space I use to package orders and, you know, not the really pretty side of my studio. I have my Epson 1430 printer. This is what I used to use for stickers when I hand cut them myself, but now I just use it as a big label printer. I have a Monstera cutting. So this corner is pretty much the stuff I usually need to pack orders. I have some stuff on the shelf as well, and I'll talk about that later. But this box pretty much contains all of my smaller stickers that can fit in here. It looks like that. I keep finished or packed orders here so that when I run out to mail them, they're all in one place. And over here is just like the decorating section. There's like stamps, my address stamp, washi tape, whatever I need to make the package pretty. So next up, this is my storage space. These are like documents and books that I use to reference every so often, but like I rarely ever go up here. I have some backdrops there. This layer is mainly like sketchbooks I've accumulated over the years, or just like materials that I use to paint. So there's like watercolor paper, there's some journals. In here is tech, which is like my USBs, my hard drives, chargers that I don't use very often. And here is all the like letters and little pen pal letters that you guys send me, and I just keep it in this box. This layer is like an extension of shipping. So I have extra bubble mailers here, there's letter envelopes behind here. These are all stamps, and then I have a box. This is actually from Amy's Ceramics. I have a hard time throwing away things with cute artwork on them, or like if the packaging is really cute. So I kept it in a box, and inside that box is pretty much all the like wires for my computers and stuff that I need, but not too often. This layer right here has some more tech that I use. I don't really use it too frequently. This is a label printer. There's a scanner. It's the Epson Perfection V37. It does a really good job at scanning like high DPI if you want to like get really detailed with things. I have a tablet that I haven't touched in a long time. I rarely use this tablet after I got my iPad. My camera equipment. Down in these two sections, this is, I guess, all the paper goods that I don't really use. This one's all stationery, and then these are all of my books. And down here is pretty much like more shipping, packaging things that I don't use as often. Like I put what I need up there, and then this is inventory in case I run out of stuff up there. So if you guys watched my previous vlogs, I used to sit on a foldable chair, which is now in my packaging side, but I actually had this really nice chair back at my parents' place that they don't use anymore also, so I ended up bringing it because I thought I would be sitting at my studio for hours on end, so it's probably a good idea to have proper back support. So this is my desk. I try to keep it as uncluttered as I can. I have a philodendron cutting with some enamel pins that people give me or that I purchase on my own. I have my iPad here to act as a double monitor. I don't really use it often as a double monitor just because I forget that I can, and so it just kind of sits there until I need to use it to draw with. I have a cup of juice because I run off of juice. This is my MacBook Pro 16-inch, I believe, the one I just bought, and a cutting mat, and it acts as a good like mouse pad. Like I don't need a mouse pad because I have this down. Over here I have a tray of pens that I use really frequently, and I also have a knife that I use to open orders that a friend gave me. I recently bought a calendar whiteboard because I still do write everything inside of my agenda, but at the same time it's nice to have it out so that you're able to see like what you have to do every day. I have books that I'm currently reading and some journals that I need to make every day run smoothly. So here's a commission that I recently did for a friend from high school, and she wanted her 2 puppies. So when I work on my commissions or my personal drawings and stuff like that, I've always preferred using Bluetooth earphones instead of the wire ones, just because it's so much more convenient to walk around or paint when there's nothing getting in your way. As a college student, I would always get my earphones covered in paint because they're always just like falling into my paint while I work. So I'm really glad Studio sent me these earphones, and they're just so convenient. it recharges in this little case, and I've been using it since they shipped it to me, and I've used it for many hours, and surprisingly it hasn't run out of battery yet. So I thought these were really cool. And if you want to get your own pair, you can get 15% off with my code AppleCheeks15. And yeah, and this is kind of like the storage area. I have Posca pens in the back here, some color pencils, brushes, watercolor, a bunch of random tech. My water brushes are here. I have a tiny trash can with my Straw Baby stickers on it. Down here I have, this is like a collection of all the stickers that people send me or that I just have. A bunch of my like packaging tapes are here, more pens. And down there, we do not talk about things that go on down there because it's a total mess and I actually don't have any idea what's down there. So I don't own any pets, so the next best thing is plants. So I have a little bear paw plant inside of the little planter that Amy Ceramics made for me. That's a different type of philodendron. I'm not sure exactly what philodendron that one is. It's in an IKEA pot, and then I have a Pelea peperomioid, and this is kind of like the last section of my studio. It's mainly just decoration and plants. So yeah, that's like my current setup. I think it works pretty good for me. It really like utilizes the space well because my apartment is really empty, and this kind of just makes it look more complete in a way. And the last step would just simply be just do it. You have a plan now, you kind of know exactly what you have to do to get to a certain place, but the hardest part is really just actually executing it and doing it and being confident in yourself to know that you can do it. A lot of the things that really made me hesitant of like jumping into freelance was because I was scared. I had a lot of anxiety, and I just have to remind myself that like there are all these things that can go wrong in your life. There are all these things that you have to make decisions for, but if you do make a decision for it, you have to be confident enough in yourself to stand by your decisions even if everyone's telling you otherwise, which I struggled with that a lot. But the thing is, I've never regretted any of the decisions I've made, and so I think that's something I have to work on, is I have to be more confident in myself, and I hope you're confident in yourself and your decisions as well. So yeah, that is what my freelance plan is. Just sorting out through my life, trying to feel for where I am. Thanks for watching. Remember to support your fellow creatives. Be nice to everyone. Bye!